Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, now everybody, welcome to episode 407 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Anderson, sending over to Jason Rugard. He will tell us what the hell this episode's all about.
Well, we are behind on our movie watching, so we decided that this was going to be a shoot the shit episode, right? Kind of just a back and forth about what's going on in movie land, and some news, some trivia, and some trailers. The news and in recent events in movie land, we will be going through them in real time, so Trevor's going to find out what we're talking about on today's show, as will you, as we're going through the show. But we do know that we're going to be talking about the trailers for Freaky Tales, The Accountant 2, and G20. We do have some big news to cover that involves James Bond, Star Trek, Deadpool, Street Fighter. I mean, there's a lot of shit to go over here. So a little bit of a sneak preview there. But first, let's get into some trivia. What do you got for me tonight, my man?
All right. Which of these is not a film directed by Alfred Hitchcock and starring James Stewart? Wait, what? Which of these is not a film directed by Alfred Hitchcock and starring James Stewart?
Oddly worded, but I got it.
Do you? Rope, Rear Window, The Wrong Man, The Man Who Knew Too Much. I'm confused.
The Wrong Man.
Is James Stewart in the other ones?
Yeah, he's in all the other ones.
Is he?
Yeah. Those are pretty famous.
Well, The Man Who Knew Too Much?
He was not in. Or he was in, yes. He was in.
No, he is in, you're what you're saying.
Only because recently I watched The Man Who Knew Too Little, the Bill Murray kind of knockoff, and I was just reading some stuff on it, and they had mentioned that James Stewart was in it. I've never seen that particular James Stewart movie. I knew he was in Rope and Rear Window, so it was just a law of deduction there. That's my method behind my madness on that one.
That just means you got lucky. Well,
I mean, that was a nice way of saying that. Yes, but thank you for blowing the cover off that.
What, so he's the lead? He is the lead in that movie. I did not realize he was actually the lead of that movie. The Man Who Knew Too Much. Well, I mean, I haven't seen Hitchcock in, I don't know, 20 years.
Here's the drinking game. I'll mention film school, so everyone take a drink again. But I'm only 2 minutes into this episode. I'm already talking about film school memories. But we saw so much Hitchcock in film school that
I watched Hitchcock before film school. Yeah, I mean, I watched Hitchcock in the 90s because it was Hitchcock, right? I mean, it was like that was the stuff you were supposed to be watching. And, I mean, some of it's really great, and some of it's boring as fuck.
How many times did we have to watch? I feel like we watched North by Northwest once a week in school.
I mean, that one's a great movie, but God, I can only watch that so many times. I will say that I watched the Alfred Hitchcock Presents pretty recently.
Yes.
And I actually really liked that TV show.
They
Oddly
gave
enough.
Orson Welles a lot of shit for his latter day work and Fall from Grace. And Alfred Hitchcock wasn't too far behind that with his Alfred Hitchcock Presents stuff.
Yeah, he was. They were all exactly the same. All the washed up guys doing what they did. But I actually enjoyed. And there's some name actors and stuff that show up in that show, and they're pretty good. Little mysteries. I don't know.
Even the Twilight Zone, and then what was it? The Outer Limits.
Well, yeah, of course.
The Outer Limits.
Yeah, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits.
There's a bunch of those anthology
series. You had the Ray Bradbury
series.
stuff. You had, One Step Beyond, right? There were so many of them.
Did you ever get into Dark Shadows?
No, the vampire.
Yeah, the Barnaby Collins.
Yeah, no. Was that a BBC thing?
It was on late night on Saturday nights. They would have reruns.
Yeah, but it was a BBC, right? Wasn't
originally,
it foreign?
yes. I don't believe it was made for American audiences. I think they brought it over in response to like the Munsters.
No, I mean, I never watched. I saw the movie, obviously, which is I'm gonna take a stab. Is nothing like the actual show, which I believe was like a soap opera, if I'm not mistaken.
A bit of a soap opera, yeah.
Yeah.
It was similar to Doctor Who, I hear, because I never actually watched Doctor Who, but it was long running.
I mean, that's what I would have imagined. Doctor Who's not really a soap opera, but kind of. I guess everything is. What's not a soap
I got a trivia question for you here. Okay, you ready?
Mm-mm.
Never.
The man who knew too little. Nailed it.
You got it right off the bat. No need to even answer the question. All right. Which one of these movie stars has started a movie with these three distinguished actresses? Not the same movie, but separate films. Okay? I'm oddly wording this in spirit of the question that you asked me.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we got Helen Mirren, Rita Moreno, and Dame Judi Dench. Only one actor on this list has appeared in a movie with each of these ladies.
Oh, God.
Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Tom Cruise, Vin Diesel, Brad Pitt, Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, God. Well, I don't even know. That's too many people.
That's too many movies.
I'll just take a stab in the dark. Vin Diesel.
Correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. I'm not totally crazy.
By way of...
I was almost wanting to say Tom Cruise. I was like, nah.
I would have said Brad Pitt if I hadn't come up with this question, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I don't know
hard.
why.
That's a lot of fucking people. Try to go through.
Per the Fast franchise with Helen Mirren and Rita Moreno. And then you have the Chronicles of Riddick with James Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Somehow he's been able to get this very distinguished English talent over to his films. And more so than some of these other big names that I mentioned here. So good for him. Although in a technicality, I guess you could say Johnson, since he was in a couple of these. Although he wasn't in Fast X, that had
he's good.
Moreno, but yeah, close.
Vin Diesel's a good actor, so.
If you don't think that's true, watch Find Me Guilty, which I just recently revisited. It's on Tubi.
That's a good movie,
and it's a fine performance in a really good movie too. Surprising that thing was overlooked as much as it was during its release.
Man, yeah, Babylon AD, right? I mean,
how could you fuck that one up?
I'm just saying,
And we could go on a list of those kind of movies that he's been. The Last Witch Hunter. There's a whole Bloodshot.
Actually, I like Babylon AD too. So what am I talking about?
All these kind of slip through the cracks. Knock around guys. We could just keep doing this.
Yeah, there is knock around guys. Yeah, there's lots that. The pacifier, but but still, regardless, in all of those, he's acting his ass off. So.
Definitely doing
he's
something.
Taking it serious. I'll tell you that much.
Well, thank you for at least taking the job seriously, sir. We appreciate
Maybe he's not acting his ass off, but he's taking it serious.
He's got that on everybody else. All right, let's talk about some movie news here. And the big news that was released over the weekend was that James Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson are going to be stepping away, relinquishing all creative control over to Amazon, who paid an additional $1 billion to get them to step away so that they can, I guess, open up the world. This has been the speculation because nothing has been said so far. So before you jump on, I'll briefly let you know that I don't necessarily hate this news because at least there is movement in the James Bond world after 3 years of nothing, really longer than that because No Time to Die was supposed to come out even sooner, but the pandemic delayed that. But there's been nothing going on with this property while Mission Impossible just keeps churning them out. So to stay relevant, they're going to have to do something. And I already think that they've dug themselves into such a hole with the ending of that last one that the Broccoli and Wilson said, fuck it, you guys figured out how to go forth from here because we don't even want to deal with the day's politics and all the, they bent the knee so much in the last few. It veered so off course that what were they ever going to do to course correct? And I think with Amazon, you can go so many different ways. I just hope we don't get a Young Q show or a Money Penny spinoff. We don't need things like that. What we could use is something where you use the budget and you set a James Bond film in the 60s or in the 50s or something like that. Let's do something creative, but let's not just spin this off Star Wars style and Disneyfy this. That's my rant. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, yeah. Look. If Barbara Broccoli is leaving, at least hopefully we can get like a Cameron Cabbage or someone to take over. I need someone with a ridiculous name to be the producer. Otherwise, it's just not going to be the same, right?
How about our dad named Chubby Broccoli?
Chubby Broccoli.
That was his name.
Yeah, I don't know. This, who has faith in Amazon at this point? I would have guessed no one. So I don't think this is a good sign for anything. If any, all it means is that they're done fighting over it, right? So now whatever happens, and I have no faith. It's not going to be great. Nothing that they have is good right now. So I don't know. Reacher is really not that good, as it turns out. Their Lord of the Rings stuff's awful. So what would they do with this? I don't know.
Well, at least we're going to get some theatrical releases because Amazon is not afraid to put things in movie theaters, where if this went to Netflix or Apple, very likely would have ended up on the streamer exclusive only content. So at least they're not going to be...
That's not true at all.
I don't think they'll be afraid to put this into,
They've not put stuff out in theaters, and people have been very pissed off about it.
Well, we're talking about The Accountant 2 later, which is going to come out in theaters. They just had a fairly decent hit with a couple things that were out. But they've been selective, but not... At least they are... giving things international.
Well, they are MGM
releases.
still, right? They're not their own. They bought MGM, so that's MGM. So it makes sense that they would still release some things through that. Whereas a lot of the other people who aren't releasing stuff, like Netflix, they're like more straight streamers, right?
And Apple, for the most part.
But they're a straight streamer, right? They don't like Apple didn't buy a movie studio.
True, and Amazon is opening up that international distribution arm. They're getting into international film distribution, which this James Bond is clearly making most of its money internationally.
I don't know. I really, honestly, I actually don't even care. They can do whatever they want with it. If it's good, then that's great. If it's not, then I don't know. It had a good run.
It's definitely the end of an era, and they definitely.
Shit. I didn't like the Craig stuff, so I was already out. For the most part, I kind of. I don't know. It's not very creative, right? None of the Craig stuff is. It's and it's not. It had the same problem that everything else did, where it became whatever was hot at the moment, and it's James Bond. It doesn't need to do that. So that leaves me. The fear now is that there's no one big enough to take over and run this, and there isn't. I don't know who will do it.
I don't know
no name.
It doesn't need a Kevin Feige. It doesn't need somebody like that. I think now you can get some.
It does more than ever. There's nobody at all. So which means who's going to run it is going to be people who are going to make bad decisions, because those are the people that are left. That's what's there. There's nobody else. Feige's fucked all on his own. He's screwed too. So.
Well, that's a perfect segue into that topic. So let's talk about that briefly here, because Rob Liefeld, who was the creator of the Deadpool comic figure, was apparently shafted at the premiere of Deadpool. Oh, yeah. Wolverine was all pissed off about that, and now his feud with Kevin Feige is heating up even further today, saying that after the bombing of the second weekend drop here for Captain America, that it's clear they've lost their touch, and he's using a baseball analogy and saying, get him off the mound. He's done. So is this hyperbole, or do you think that he's true here in that they just Kevin Feige needs to step aside and let somebody else take the reins of the Marvel Universe?
Well, what I do know is that this isn't new, right? Marvel, specifically Marvel now, has treated all these comic book creators like shit. And like they don't really deserve to be anywhere near the movies, right? And the movies are Kevin Feige's thing, or whatever his name is. Does anybody ever figure out how the hell to say his name?
I think you're saying it right, yes. It's only been in the news for like 20 years and we still haven't figured it out.
I still don't know. But yeah, it's been a running gag at this point that they treat the actual comic book creators like crap. So these guys aren't treated like royalty, even though you're standing on the shoulders of giants here, right? You're taking somebody else's work they've already done and cashing in on it. And now that you've run out of that stuff, now he's eating shit, right? And he doesn't know what to do. Especially as they get closer into more modern comic book stuff, which is what they're getting into, it's going to get a lot shittier. Big surprise.
Well, you say standing on the shoulder of giants. They're also using, now granted, phase 1 through 3 of Marvel really did capture people's attention, and for the most part, emotionally as well, they were invested. But the comic books had decades of that built up, and then the last 5 years, they've really, it seemed, did their best to try to distance themselves from the people that had emotionally invested in this, whether it be through the comics leading up to the Marvel Universe, the cinematic universe, or just people that jumped in around Iron Man and so on and so forth. But I don't think that... What's curious to me is the release of Fantastic Four, which looks to be the most promising thing on their slate in a long time, and they've decided to put that in the summer so close to Superman, as opposed to getting out front, putting it out earlier in the year, and trying to have that goodwill carry over to this Captain America thing. Or maybe they just wanted to get this fucking thing off the books and out of the way.
The what's their Suicide Squad thing called? Peanuts? What the fuck is this thing called?
Thunderbolts.
Thank you. I call it Peanuts. Thunderbolts. Early test screenings are saying it's pretty decent.
Well, I hope so. I'm not betting against this company. I hope for a good product. It's just been a while since I've had good product from Marvel.
I don't know about betting against things, but I am tired of superheroes. Specifically because of the way they reboot them and tell these stories, and this is episodic at this point. This is like television. Like we've seen this so many times, and so I don't know. The new Superman's supposed to be very comedic. I think, it's fucking great.
I almost yearn for the 90s when we had the tangential sequel that was kind of attached to the first one, but not really. In some ways could almost be a soft reboot, whether it be The Son of Mask, whether it be Too Fast, Too Furious.
I want things to be less attached to each other. That'd be wonderful. And especially, spaced apart a little bit more. Can I get different fucking movies?
I mean, they used to supplant actors for one another in a role, if the guy didn't want to come back and now that doesn't really
that's true.
happen.
And that never bothered you before.
No, it's
long form. It bothers you
now
for some reason.
Now it's a fucking media storm if somebody's replaced, but it's long form storytelling that has gotten so wildly out of control. And once again, I'm always brought back to when we were around somebody who was pitching a trilogy, and somebody told that person that they didn't have enough story for one movie, let alone 3 movies. And sometimes I think about this when we are watching these, and I think you're really just expanding that bubble gum to fill a running time and just provide us with more entries down the line.
Yeah, I know, it's awful. I really want one-offs again. I just want movies, and I want someone to come with an idea. They really need to tell us idea, and they need to make this movie, and that's what I don't know. We should get back to. Even if those movies are bad, at least those movies I feel like have a reason to exist. Like I watched this last Captain America movie, and it feels like no reason for it to exist, and that's how Marvel movies feel going forward. This new Superman feels like, why do I need this? Do you know how many fucking Superman movies I have? Let alone how many
How many failed Superman movies you have at this point?
I just don't want to go through this story again. Like I know the story. I fucking know it. My entire life I've seen the movies.
And the cartoons.
I just
and the comic
don't need it again.
And the television shows, yeah.
Yeah, so tell me a new Superman story. If you're going to do a Superman, tell me don't restart it. Oh, we're rebooting. We're going to restart everything over and over and over again. That's why even if you do the James Bond and you take it back to the 50s or the 60s, you're just going to reboot it? Who cares?
That would have to be a one-off.
I already have those. Yeah, I know. But then what do you do after that, right? There's no... You just have to take that character. It just has to be James Bond, right? It can't do all this extra nonsense that they're doing with all these movies, right? Everything is too precious or too big. It can't just be what it is. That's what we used to get. We used to just get, You just get a Batman movie. You just get like a Superman movie. You just...
And not only that,
to be fair, they ran those on the ground.
But you bring up Batman. Let's talk about
during
Batman.
Our childhood, but
Batman '89 and Batman Returns. I mean, those really aren't connected in any other way except for that they have the main star and the same director. But
they're just
no characters are brought over.
Right, exactly. They're just like same universe, same like
a one-off adventure. I used to love that
continuation, but it's just
it's an entry.
A continuation of the universe. Yeah, an entry.
Not a continuation. All right, let's move on and talk about the continuation of all continuation, and that is Bill Shatner, old Willy boy there. He of the odd speaking pattern, who must be in his 90s now, for fuck's sakes.
Oh, yeah, he's like 93.
So old Balls said he's going to get back in the Star Trek universe today. He sent me this tweet that he first of all, who's tweeting for him? Because 94-year-olds don't tweet, let's be honest.
Oh, no, he tweets himself. You can tell. Believe me, you can fucking tell.
Yeah, I'm glad a 94-year-old can still tweet himself. I thought that goes out in the 60s, but he can still tweet himself all night. And old Billy boy there, old fucking slick fingers on the Twitter board, said that he is going to be appearing in a new Star Trek something and that he's returning as Kirk. And like I said, how many hours can this old fuck be on set at this point? And do we really need to see him? At some point, you have to step away from the character.
How desperate are you? You have to go back to this. First of all, though, but you read the tweet, right? So you saw the reference to his death. to
the generations.
To generations, yeah. Which I thought was fucking hysterical. His tweet says, I've been approached to resurrect Kirk. It's all still up in the air. Or is it buried under some rocks? He says he's waiting for Paramount to say, but I just like he's like, as if that's like an Easter egg for, like, you don't bring that shit up, bro.
It would have been if we hadn't just watched it for a retrospective recently and we saw him buried under the rocks.
Yeah, literally.
And we were lamenting about what a unmagnanimous fucking death scene that was for him, for such a beloved character. And apparently he felt the same way. But then again, why wait this long to do something with this character? You could have done this 20 years ago.
They're desperate to do something with Star Trek, right? Star Trek has failed. They've beaten it into the ground just like they did everything else. And the only way they see a path forward is to bring back old stars. And they've done this time and time again, right? I mean, why did Marvel bring back
Downey?
Yeah, Downey, right? I mean, it's pathetic.
Why haven't they done a Riker show?
Let me tell you something. Why don't we do something completely different in the Star Trek universe, like we've been doing, and if it doesn't work, stop making Star Trek. I don't know how else to say this. Stop making these things. Stop doing it. Do something else. Make
what
a
else
different
would they
show.
put on Paramount Plus?
There are so many great sci-fi shows, very similar, obviously, clearly very inspired by Star Trek, that have existed over the past decade plus, right?
Well, Battlestar Galactica.
There is just
first of all,
Battlestar Galactica, The Expanse. There's all kinds of great shit. So I mean,
the fact that we never really got Firefly back for any length of time, even though Joss Whedon is persona non grata.
They hated Joss Whedon, so they just killed that.
But still, the fact that was never really rebooted post Avengers fame, it was always baffling to me.
It would never be. They hate it. The studios, nobody likes Joss Whedon. Even before, nobody liked Joss Whedon. They didn't like him before.
And then they all piled on.
Maybe. I mean, he's a pain in the ass.
I'm for sure he is. But the man can produce good television and sometimes some good movies as well.
Of course he can. But that was why they didn't. I mean, I don't know. There's politics at play, I guess.
Can I get a Briscoe County Jr. reboot then? I mean, something different.
Yes, please. Can we get Jack of all trades?
You're going deep on the Bruce Campbell
deep on that
fucking
shit, man. Bring all that shit back. I'm down for any of that silly nonsense. Yeah, I'd like to see some actual creative stuff. I'm tired of people telling me the things that they're doing are creative when they aren't, and I would rather just see some very creative, weird things. Let people just go at it. Get people excited again who would want to work in the industry. Like, just it's not exciting. I don't know a lot of people that want to do anything with movies. Video games is very similar, right? It's just, it's gross, you know.
It's just like seeing there's a time to retire a character, and with what they did with the Picard series, from what you watched more of it than I did, but it was nothing that was necessary. They didn't add anything to the legacy or the mythology.
Yeah.
In fact,
I watched a season of it, which apparently wasn't enough. Apparently it gets really good, but you know what? I don't care.
I was watching that Secret Invasion show for a while, and until Nick Fury loses his eye to a cat scratch, and I thought, how are you
I didn't see that
retconning things here and making it so just feeble, and when these characters are mythology in a sense, this is our modern mythology.
Well, it's sad to watch, to go from like watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and how that tied in with the movies back in the day to what exists now. Oh man, I mean, it's fucking awesome. The only thing more awesome than this was like watching Angel and Buffy and how those had crossovers and ties, and just when this shit works, it's like hell yeah, and when it doesn't work, it's like God, just fucking stop. Like,
it's clunky.
But there's nothing to roll over to, right? They've done nothing else. They have nothing new. They have nothing going on.
Which is why they have to keep going back to these old...
What do you want, more Star Wars?
Well, what's next? Clint Eastwood is Dirty Harry? I mean, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Oh, that would be amazing.
The man can barely stand.
Only if Gene Hackman comes back.
Oh my God.
Bring Hackman back as like the bad guy in a new Dirty Harry movie.
It's the Unforgiven Dirty Harry version.
Oh, come on. It would be like Bubba Hotep and shit, man. We can go Bruce Campbell all night long, ladies and gentlemen.
We got to get Bruce Campbell in this as the young gunslinger at 65, Oh, I love it. Well, there's been some news on Constantine 2, which everybody was holding their breath for. I know you and I actually liked this movie, but it's probably about as forgettable as most Keanu Reeves movies that aren't Point Break, Speed, or John Wick. And that is going to be Constantine 2, and Reeves has given an update saying that he and Francis Lawrence, director of the original, have pitched Warner Brothers an idea that they're keen on, and this is as far in development as they've been able to get over the last decade. I'm a little concerned here because this to me sounds like, if anything, an HBO Max series, not an actual feature film, for one. And for two, I don't think that Reeves needs to be doing the action hero bit at this age. He's really not... He's not holding up well, as I'm trying to say here. I mean, good-looking dude, very physical in his day, but, I mean, let the man rest a little bit. He is looking worse for wear, especially in that last Bill and Ted movie. Really, I don't know what that was all about.
God.
But he looked like a skeleton wearing a
Keanu
both
Reeves
suit.
Both of them looked awful in that.
And I just don't think that this... Once again, let's retire a character. Let's leave it where... It's kind of like my feelings about Lethal Weapon 5. We don't need it. It's not going to be what you want it to be.
We've already rebooted Constantine, right? We had the show thing or whatever, right? Wasn't there a show? There was another guy that played Constantine,
I think that was like a Fox show or an FX show, was it?
Yeah, and that was fine. I remember seeing some of it. And I just think if you do Constantine, why does it have to go back to Keanu Reeves? Can't you do Constantine without Reeves?
Yeah, he didn't set the character on, like, he's not iconic in this role or anything.
Well, I guess maybe he is. I don't know. Look, Constantine's a good movie.
It is.
But it's not the greatest fucking movie ever known to man. Like, you can do, goddamn, it's a comic book character. Why someone else can't play it? Like, why haven't we made more Constantine movies? I don't know. How many Hellboy movies?
I was just going to say we've had 3 fucking Hellboys. What's the difference?
Get the fuck out of here, man. God, that last Hellboy movie is so awful.
I've yet to watch it. And the thing is, I've yet to watch that
so bad.
Because, dude, I actually kind of liked it, the one with David Harbour, and you shit on that one. I was like, fuck.
New one. Watch the fucking new one. You should watch it.
So does the David Harbour one rise in comparison?
Oh, it's fucking awesome compared to this. I swear, I shit you not, watch the new Hellboy. It's
they buried this new Hellboy. And I say the new one because it was supposed to be in theaters.
There's a reason. There's a fucking reason. It is off. It's really, truly one of the worst things I've ever seen.
And Lionsgate just buried it onto digital without any sort of ad campaign, totally tanking it. And that was because
that's just a standard Lionsgate campaign at this point, right?
Well, it's basically the token release, like Tarantino said about the whole industry, but that's doubled down for Lionsgate, the 3-week token release before the digital release, which is just the advertisement for home video release.
Lionsgate's only releasing things in theaters because it's contractually obligated to at this point. It knows some of these movies it's put out. I mean, come on. Actually, there's been like no fucking campaigns for them. So they damn near know.
Or they're being, things like Flight Risk, which did have a campaign and was moved around the calendar 4 times, so nobody really knew when it was coming out.
Flight Risk is fucking awful. Lionsgate's really had some fucking movies that just, holy shit, who spent money on this, And some of them are they spent kind of a lot on, that Borderlands fucking movie.
Well, they had a hit with that resurgence of Hunger Games, that snakes and mongooses, or whatever the fuck that was.
I really didn't like that movie, but that did do very well.
And that was, at least, and John Wick did well before that. So they on occasion, every dog has his day.
But John Wick is, I'll say, I don't know, John Wick kind of, I think, has its own crew around it at this point that kind of knows what they're doing.
Insulates it from being a
that
total
makes sense. Kind of like helps it a little bit. Yeah, even if because as those go along, like none of those are bad movies, but they do kind of, I don't know, like it becomes a little bit much, They get more ridiculous as they go along.
I pretty much tapped out after part 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and 4 is not bad. I mean, 4 has, the end
beautiful
is
sequences,
pretty good, to be honest with you. Yeah, but that's how those movies are, right? They have really good sequences, but then you're kind of like, man, the forest is kind of like, the trees are great, but the forest is kind of shitty.
Let me tell you what those movies are fucking beautiful for. And this recently just happened because I was in a hotel. You put it when you're flipping. The only time you ever watch live TV, or the only time I ever watch live television anymore, is when I'm in a fucking hotel and I'm forced to watch, cops on one channel and fucking Forensic File on another, and then TNT had John Wick 2 on. And it's great these movies are great to watch in sections like that because they have great set pieces. It works for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can kind of
come in whenever and you can leave whenever. Yeah,
exactly right. Okay, let's move on and talk about the next bit of business, and that is a Street Fighter film that was getting I didn't know this was going to be like the 3rd remake of the Street Fighter, or the 3rd attempt to bring this to the screen, but Legendary has got a director in Kita Sakura. I think I said his name. Kitaosakura. Give that a shot. He's the director behind a film called Bad Trip with Eric Anders and Tiffany Haddish, which was a bit of a prank show mixed with a movie. It was almost like Jackass and the Jerky Boys movie came together, and it wasn't a bad comedy for what it was, but there's nothing in it that would suggest this person is capable of bringing something like Street Fighter to the screen. And it just,
this is the video game?
Yes. I don't know why this fucking property can never get a proper filmmaker behind it, and why the disrespect constantly, and then the befuddlement of we don't understand the audience didn't show up. You're starting on the fucking wrong track, just like this Mortal Kombat 2 who cast Carl Urban, the most mediocre actor of all time, who continues to fucking work. I don't understand it, as Johnny Cage. Get the fuck out of here. Who thinks he'd be a better Johnny Cage than Scott Adkins? Nobody. Anyways, what do you think about this guy? Do you know who this fucker is? And did you even know this was happening? No.
I didn't even hear that other movie.
Yeah, this Street Fighter. I mean, this I don't know. The disrespect to the franchise already.
Yeah, I mean, could be good, could be bad. I don't know anything about it. Street Fighter's great, so I don't know, as long as they do the right story. At least this hasn't. I mean, to be fair, they've had like anime and stuff of it, but other than that, they haven't run this one into the ground. I mean, I know you'll say Chun-Li, but that was a one-off thing that just didn't go anywhere. And it's been, 15 years, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's been about 15 years since that.
They're kind of open to at least this one isn't something that they ran into the ground 8 million times, from Sunday, and now they're just desperate to do it again. I don't know.
Well, I used to use
maybe
the Chun-Li one that I know you like there as a verbal punching bag for bad martial arts / sci-fi fantasy films. But I think my new limit for that is actually M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, which is an atrocious film.
Yeah.
That was also on this weekend on TV in the
hotel
room.
You should watch the new Hellboy. I'll give you
that
a new
was
one.
not on TV in the hotel.
I'll give you one to add. Give you one to add to your grouping there.
You want to send me down in the spiral, the abyss of movie hell?
I can't be the only one who's seen it.
You might be.
No, my brother watched it too.
You guys are the ones. It's you and the cast and crew.
And he hated it too, and he loves Hellboy.
Let's talk about some trailers here. It's 3 things I want to talk about on tonight's show. And number 1 is The Accountant 2. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, and Gavin O'Connor are reteaming. And as much as I'm a Ben Affleck fan, Bernthal, and Gavin O'Connor, I've never seen The Accountant. And I know you've been telling me for years to watch it. I've never it's on our video
account. Has this trailer convinced you?
It has. I'm going to watch it.
Because this trailer's fucking awesome.
It is. It's like Rain Man and a fucking war movie.
Shit. This, I'm like, yeah.
I'm in it.
10 seconds into this movie, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing this in the theater.
For sure. Same thing.
Yeah, not even fucking, no shit. This is great. We got the Statham movie coming out next month. And then this, when does this come out?
April as well. This is the next month, following month.
This is the next month. Oh, fucking great.
Yeah, a couple of fucking macho movies coming out, I'm loving it. Yeah.
Bernthal looks
fucking great as the
fucking
brother.
Great. Doesn't he look great in this too? Yes, as his brother and shit. They're so good. And I love the storyline of this. It actually seems like there's a something for him to do rather than just, I don't know, sit around and do nothing. This is great. I think I want more movies like this.
I'm all for it. This is an odd buddy movie in a weird way. Like I said, Rain Man-esque, where the brothers are trying to get together. And I really liked, there's one moment in there, I hope it's a glimpse of the kind of what we're going to see here, where he said, all these years you didn't reach out. Was it me? Was it something I did? And he just says, it's just me. That's that moment hums in this trailer on top of all the cool visuals and the little humor that's interspersed in there. So I think that this is going to be hopefully a big hit for Affleck too, whose personal life has seemed to overshadow his accomplishments as an actor and as a filmmaker for decades now. And people forget how powerful this guy is behind the camera and in front of the camera in the right project. And I think that he got so homogenized in those Batman films and everything that was going on in the tabloids that this is going to serve once again to show that this guy is an Oscar winner, multiple Oscar winner. And this is, this looks powerful. I can't wait to watch this movie, and just looks going to be just a damn good movie. It looks so fucking good that I'm going to watch The Accountant 1 this week because I want to see The Accountant 2 so bad.
I'll have to rewatch the first one too as well to get into the second one. The first one's great. This is like, to some extent, it's like The Equalizer.
I was thinking the same thing.
In the sense of like, the
meticulous assassin.
A meticulous assassin, a very big name actor, right? Who's kind of, I don't know, still has a big name, but is not just as in demand as they should be.
Slightly over the hill, and although Denzel is a much bigger actor than
maybe,
Affleck.
But I don't think he's sought out as much as he should be. Still, it's Denzel Washington. What's he been in? Gladiator 2? It's like, how the fuck? Like, where's Denzel Washington? Why isn't he in everything?
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
He could have his Gene Hackman moment. You brought up Gene Hackman for a while there. He was like in 3 or 4 movies a year from like 88 to like 95. The fucker was everywhere.
Well, he could just be picking really great roles, and it just doesn't seem like he must not be being offered things, all I can think of, or he's just not a good picker.
But Affleck here, I think, with Air last year that he directed and starred in with Matt Damon, or 2 years ago.
That one was good.
Loved that. And Gavin O'Connor, the guy who's behind the camera here, obviously I haven't seen The Accountant, but I loved Warrior, and I really enjoyed Pride and Glory with Colin Farrell and Ed Norton. I think that Gavin O'Connor is... We talked about Sidney Lumet earlier in the film with Find Me Guilty. I think that Gavin O'Connor has a lot of the same strengths as a filmmaker that Sidney Lumet does, using the working class guy and doing the city environment. And a lot of his earlier work is that. This looks a little bit more fantasy based, right. But still there's a I don't want to say a realism to it, but it doesn't feel like an action movie. This does not feel like an action movie vibe. It has the vibe of a family drama with some action in it.
Yeah, because it has I don't know. It's more of a mystery almost in a way, but although it's kind of not. I don't know. I love when she says, I don't know if it's going to be that. But
when she said, "Look at this puzzle. We need you to solve a puzzle." Yeah. I was like, "Ooh, what's the puzzle?" You know, it's like I'm watching. I was like, "This is a trailer for a real movie. This is how trailers were cut. This was the kind of excitement that used to, all of the elements are here. You got the action, you got the drama, you got the comedy, and it doesn't feel like it's shoehorned in a manipulative way. It feels like this is all part of the story that we're going to get, and you get to watch these guys do that. And they're just two good actors as well, playing well off each other.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I think of, when I hear the accountant is someone had a tweet a long time ago where they said that they took their dad, who was an actual accountant, to go see the accountant. He said all his dad said the whole time was, "That's not how they would do the accounting." And I just thought that was funny because that's so true of like any movie where they're doing something real and someone who does that job or does that for real or something, they're always like, "This is bullshit."
Well, that would be like a pilot knocking flight risk. Like,
exactly. Well, no, seriously though, but they always do. You know, it's true to a point because the movies are never remotely accurate. You know.
Well, I mean, I bartended for many years, as you know, and I would always crack up watching Cocktail or some of these movies where the guys are flipping bottles and this and that. And you go, there's like 3 drinks being made in the last 5 minutes. Yes. You'd be fired immediately fucking around like that at a real bar. So,
but it's hard to tell that unless you do something for a living, right? Otherwise it's kind of hard to tell. Like the movies kind of get away with it otherwise because you just don't have the insight to understand or to know that this is bullshit. But that just makes it, or should make it clear that everything that they do in the movie is complete bullshit. Because whoever does that for a living, they're going to be like, "This is bullshit." Yeah, but he's still the accountant. The accounting could be realistic. Okay.
I mean, okay, well, that's like in The Equalizer that he works at Home Depot and he's not doing a good job with customer service in that position.
Exactly.
So, all right.
At least he's equalizing.
Our next movie is Freaky Tales, Pedro Pascal, Oakland-based film, and full disclosure. Do you recall this? What I'm going to say?
No.
I auditioned for this movie.
Oh.
Do you remember me sending you that audition?
Yeah.
There's the scene in the trailer where he's in the video store and that door opens to the back room. They don't show the scene that I auditioned for because it happens in that back room, but that was the prefaces to it. You walking to it, and it said in the script the back wall opens leading to a poker game. So as I'm watching this, I'm having a lot of different reactions because I'm thinking about my audition. I'm thinking about, I wonder who got the part here. I wonder if he's going to be in the trailer. So I had to watch this a couple times to kind of get out of my own head to see what I was seeing here and if I was, I don't know, bringing something to it. And I don't know what this is. I don't know whether to make heads or tails, given that I read 3 to 5 pages of the script for my scene, but I wasn't given access to the entire script. So I didn't know. It's an interconnecting stories. I didn't know this was going to be about Floyd Sleepy Hollow, who was Sleepy Floyd, was a real Warriors basketball player in the 80s. I have his autograph. And he was not a ninja master or any of this fucking shit. So I don't know what this movie is or where it's living at in terms of reality, but it looks like something like Southland Tales. Richard Kelly would have dreamt up this in their mid-2000s. This doesn't look at all like what I thought I was getting involved with when I auditioned for that scene. So what did you think about this movie? Because you have fresh perspective. You didn't... You were emotionally invested.
The same thing. I don't know what the fuck is this movie about. I have no idea. Pedro Pascal. The movie opens, and I think Pedro Pascal is too old to play whatever role he's playing.
Isn't that for most of the roles he's playing lately?
Isn't it for most roles? Period. They're casting people who are way too old to play these things. Yes, they are. I don't know why they can't cast younger actors, but This whole like, I'm gonna sell, mixed tapes or whatever the fuck he's selling, and I'm like, get out of this place. Like, wait, what is it? Was that even him then? Because I'm so confused by the trailer after all that shit. I was like, is that intercut with something else? Do I not know what the fuck's going on? I have no idea what's happening in this movie at all, period, ever. I don't know who would. It doesn't tell you anything. It just shows you a bunch of shots of people walking around the city. Pedro Pascal is told to kill someone, and he decides not to, and that's fucking it. That's the whole movie. I don't know. No idea. Don't care. Doesn't look good.
Also, Pedro Pascal is not the name or face I would think of when you're trying to accurately represent Oakland, Bay Area in that time frame either. I mean, the accent, the whole thing, it just seems, he seems out of place. And I thought it was just me and what I was bringing to this. But I rewatched it a couple times, and this movie looks heavily influenced by Everything Everywhere All at Once. It looks like it's trying to bite a lot of things.
Maybe. I just don't know. What would the actual storyline be? At least that movie, like you talk about Southland Tales, you talk about that. I can at least piece together a fucking movie out of that. I don't understand what this is.
Well, this movie was shot back in, I auditioned for this 2
interconnected
years
stories.
ago.
What are the other stories? I know one story, really. That's it. The Pedro Pascal story. I don't know any other stories. They didn't tell me.
Well, this was filmed over 2 years ago now, and this has had a hard time finding distribution. Lions King has picked it up. I don't know if they're going to give it a small release in art house theaters, under 1,000 screens, or if they're going to try to go wide with this. But based on the success,
comes out April too,
or the lack of success they've been having, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets unceremoniously dumped straight on to pay-per-view, just like they did with the Hellboy movie, going back to that. So this might get the same treatment as your boy.
Yeah.
Your boy
if this is the best trailer you can come up with, then I would be worried about this, because the trailer doesn't sell it very much. I mean, it looks fine. It might be really good for all I fucking know. But I would like to have seen something like a through line, maybe perhaps for all 4 of the stories, so I know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I should say that as well, that Lionsgate has had a history going back to 2007 of putting out awful trailers. So this Lionsgate has some of the worst poster makers, trailer makers, fucking title makers, just the most god-awful graphic artist I've ever seen. We started noticing that back when they did Rambo in 2008, with...
I was going to say, mid-2000s, it's been the same, right? Ever since they started getting into direct-to-video stuff, it's been really bad. And by direct-to-video, I mean direct-to-DVD to stuff. Because what else was there?
it was a lot of shit was like that.
God, there's all kinds of stuff they had. Yeah, they had their Death Race stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that was Universal, I want to say, but it's the same thing. That was all those titles.
That might be Universal, but it was the same issue.
It was that same era. Stuff. I mean, they did this with a ton of movies in that time, and everything looked cheap coming out of there, and it has never really stopped. And the pig with lipstick on at this point. So, I mean, Lionsgate is precariously hanging with. They might go out of business if they have another year like they did last year. They need a hit. I
don't know how they're still in business. They don't seem to be worried.
Yeah, where's their financing coming from? I want to know. Where's their funding coming?
Yeah.
All right, well, the last movie on tonight's show is going to be the Viola Davis actioneer coming to Prime, G20, about a female president who goes to the global summit, which is taken over by green terrorists, and she is forced into action. And the trailer isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be when I saw the poster, but it's just... I want to say it's unnecessary, but we had this. It doesn't look terrible. It looks like it's
yes,
actually...
it does. It looks awful.
I disagree. I think that if this had starred somebody a little bit more capable physically...
No, it still would have been awful.
I wouldn't have hated it. I wouldn't have hated it.
You mean like a man?
No, I just think somebody who is a little bit more agile, not as old.
Who would be more capable to do this? This is a...
Zoe Saldana?
Ridiculous. Oh, please. The toothpick? Okay, this is ridiculous. This is just a stupid story. The problem is the story here. a president who's ex-military who could do everything, but also, you remember family. This is horrible. This is dog shit, man. It's terrible storytelling. It just looks ridiculous, and just more as girl power weird nonsense they put into some action. Like they've taken a movie like Die Hard or something and they've repurposed it for girl power. It's terrible. It's awful. Doesn't matter who starred in it. The movie itself is no good. Do
you think, and I don't want to get political here, but do you think that when they were putting this into production, that they thought maybe there was going to be a different outcome with the election, and that this was going to be tied in a little bit and very topical?
Yes, and I think that if you haven't watched Captain America yet, yes. I mean, yes to all of it. It's, this is just, it's just terrible. This is not good storytelling. This is not creative. I don't have a problem with female action heroes. I have a problem with these types of movies. They're terrible.
Well, I will say the trailer for something like The Cleaner with Daisy Ridley.
That looks terrible too, and that's the same problem.
But it looks better than this, to be honest with you.
Mildly.
It's faint praise, but it is a favorable comparison.
I mean, you're not wrong. It does look better than this, but it just looks straight to video. That's would be the worst thing about Cleaner is that it just looks cheap.
I mean, there's been a rash of these movies, and Martin Campbell who's behind The Cleaner, did one called Protege with Maggie Q. It was actually really good with Samuel L. Jackson and Michael Keaton. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah.
That wasn't bad, actually, for what it was. And then there was Vanguard, which is surprisingly okay as well, with Ruby Rose. Did you ever see that one?
No, but it has Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose and Morgan Freeman, I want to say, is in it. It wasn't terrible. George Gallo wrote and directed that one.
Sounds terrible.
But I'm saying there's been a rash of these for quite a while now. So what they're doing is not novel anymore. Now it's just a knockoff. And I don't really see a reason for this movie to exist other than to have said, look at us. We're the first ones out when this, thing was happening in the world, and then it didn't happen. And now they're just looking like it's just another movie to fill content on a streaming service. But Viola Davis, whoever is her manager, good for them, because they've seemed to find her work above and beyond what I ever thought she was going to be capable of. I mean, this is a very good actress when she's in things like Fences, and even as Waller, I think that she's got good moments as that character, but I just don't care for her as an action hero. I would prefer Angela Bassett, who I know is aged, but she seemed like a proper action hero. Viola Davis never gave off a tough vibe on any sort of level or any like physical athleticism. I don't know. Am I getting too far into Viola Davis physical prowess? Things get. I mean, at the same time, we got years of Bruce Willis cop movies and Air Force One and things like that. So there was a lot of redundancy back in the '90s and 2000s too, and ridiculous movies. But
it's not that it's redundant. It's that the point of it is just to put her on a pedestal, right?
Yeah, she's a badass,
and that's just stupid.
If Gerard Butler starred in this and it was part of the Has Fallen series, would you see it?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be this, right? I mean, what you just described isn't this. The Has Fallen series isn't this. He's not like the biggest badass, best fucking guy. Don't mess with him. He's the fucking president now. Better watch out, motherfucker. Right? That's ridiculous, right? That's fucking stupid. And if it was, then it would be fun and lighthearted and nonsense. This isn't. This appears to be. This is what they think an action movie is, right?
Well, what seems to be interesting in these role reversal action films here is that the flawed character from when it was a male character, it was a very flawed character and had to overcome a lot of those flaws in accomplishing his goal. Yeah, and sometimes didn't overcome all of them, but these characters now aren't really flawed at all.
A Mary Sue.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, that's what I mean. This is what they think an action movie. That's how they think that the guys ones are, and they're not like this, right? And if they are like this, then it's tongue in cheek, ridiculous, and they know it. But this isn't. This is badass, and you know, watch out. She's gonna get you.
It makes you yearn for the simplicity and the idiocracy of something like Live Free or Die Hard, or even A Good Day to Die Hard, which was we thought was pretty low on the totem pole of Die Hard movies, but in the end is better than these knockoffs that we've been getting for quite some time.
Well, I watched Vanquish, even though I don't like Ruby Rose, but
it's not bad. It's not
I'm
a bad.
Actually reading the thing here, and it actually doesn't sound that bad.
It's really not. If you like The Protege, or even
might be good.
Like those kind of, that's what I'm saying. The fact that you're willing to watch that just should tell listeners out there, or should show listeners that we're not against these kind of movies when they are done well. It's that when it's just put out there to prove something, it feels like a show off. This feels like a vanity project in a lot of ways for the filmmakers, for the star. All around, this feels like it's full of hubris, and I'm not really interested in it. But it doesn't look terrible. I think that it looks competently made. So
it looks terrible.
That's the best I'll say about it.
And that's the worst I'll say.
Well, that's going to wrap up episode 407 on the last words of Trevor and I. We want to thank you guys for joining us. As always, you can check out moviemavericks.com for our latest reviews. Listen to us and follow on Spotify, Stitcher, TalkShoe, or wherever you're getting this at, guys. We want to appreciate your listenership, and rate, review the show. It helps big time. We'll be back soon with a retrospective on A Man Apart, and we look forward to talking to you guys soon. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I am Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to moviemavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!